Getting on time and working through a relevant end on time is a hard one to meet.
What does ending on time look like?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I was gonna say,
If
what
we
do
begin
I
on
like
time, we're good.
what do we
And
miss?
we be
Start on time.
modified, we will begin on time and work through the agenda.
Otherwise, it's-
But it's hard to predict how long some of these things will
I
take.
need to start reading.
Yeah, I think they're perfectly
I think they're a good
acceptable.
set of,
They are.
good set of norms and still are applicable as they were. I think we did this the first year,
I think so.
probably 7 years ago. Okay, 5 o'clock. Let's go ahead. Let's see, we need to reconvene to public session. We'll have another roll call.
Mr. Don Casini, Mr. Kevin Peterson.
Here.
Mr. James Durrell, Mr. Darren Parker, Ms. Kathy Duran.
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna, what, you just wanna, be silent, or,
Present, I'm here.
so we don't have a quorum, or what?
Ms. Patty Reardon. Here. Mr. Gary Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Mark White.
Here.
Ms. John Barta. Ms. Michelle Gookin.
Here.
Ms. Ellen McIsaac. And we still have a quorum.
Okay, let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 6. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 8, approval of agenda.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, number 7 was
Oh,
reported
seven.
closed session.
I'm sorry, yeah, I skipped. Report out of closed session. Let me just read this and I'll give you the notes. Jillian, okay? So on the first one, the UCP appeal and proposed settlement. On a motion by Kathy Dern and Michelle Gookins, it was moved to grant Dr. Herman the authority to settle the matter with the family of student number 9703065. The vote to approve was unanimous. The second item, former employee potential complaint and settlement agreement. On a motion by Gary Roberts, seconded by Patty Harden, it was moved to grant Dr. Herman the authority to settle the matter with Mr. Ison. The vote was unanimous to approve. Okay? Is that all right with everybody?
Yes.
You can read that.
Yes.
Okay, now we're on to approval of agenda.
I will move to approve the agenda as posted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's time for public comments. So members of the public are welcome to address the board on any item on the legislative agenda or any other item of specific concern with the board's jurisdiction, within the board's jurisdiction. So, anybody would like to make a comment? Okay. If not, we'll move into the legislative session. Item number 9 is consideration of appointment of board director from the city of Palmdale.
So the city of Palmdale selected Dr. John Porter as its nominee for our board of directors. As you may know, Dr. Porter was a longtime assistant superintendent with Palmdale School District and has been very supportive of our efforts at the school. He is now retired and traveling. He let me know that he was out of state today, but is looking forward to the outcome of this vote and hopefully joining the board.
Of course, this is my seat. I'll be leaving after this meeting.
Because Dr. Porter is a good friend of mine, I will make the motion to approve the city's nominee.
Can I get in line to second
I'd like
that
to
motion? You want to fight
I was gonna second
it?
it too. Could we get a third?
Looks like we're looking forward to Dr. John Porter, so that's good. Sounds like a good selection. His resume looked good. I did not know know.
I think in the realm of special ed, he would
He's
be
got a
very,
great deal of expertise.
very helpful for us.
It's good for us.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Item 10, which is election of officers. President and chairman, secretary and treasurer are the three officers that we have currently. And in accordance with the bylaws, we reselect these people on an annual basis.
And in general, what the board has done is you've kind of selected them as a slate with one vote. You don't have to do it that way. You can vote on each of them separately. So it's entirely up to you how you want to navigate that. Mr. Peterson, of course, is rotating off. So we have a vacancy at president. Ms. Duran is serving as secretary, and Mr. Roberts is serving as treasurer. And
Is Mr. Simi also rotating off?
Yes,
or
he
no?
is.
Okay.
yes, he is. Yes, sir?
Since we do need a president,
Mhm.
and that might change something, but I would like to nominate Kathy Duran, who's now our secretary, to be president.
I'll second that. That's a good nomination. Good luck.
Did anybody let her know first?
That is not a requirement of this process, is it?
There's a little chill in my
It's a special-
spine.
Oh, you have to accept the nomination.
I will accept the nomination.
Maybe not.
Cool, let's get that one done before she changes her mind, and then we
So-
can talk about the rest.
So that's a motion for president separately,
Yes.
so it's perfectly appropriate for the board to discuss and vote on that separately. if you
Okay.
choose.
I think we're ready for vote.
Yeah, are there any other?
Any
do we
other
have to check
discussion or
for other-
nominations? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Kat.
Thank you.
You want
And
to
we're
take it from
sorry.
here?
I think it was.
I'll sit over there.
Hey, you finish that.
No, traditionally.
Let's let him finish the item.
Okay.
The item done.
Well, that's
See, we haven't done this for a president
That's right.
Couple of
since I've been
years.
on
That's
3
that's
years.
correct. There've only been
It's been-
2 presidents for this board, so
Last
congratulations,
year,
Madam President.
Right.
They voted in
First
this session.
6 years with Jim.
Position, so you actually switch at the end of this one.
I appreciate your leadership.
Thank you. Okay, any nominations for secretary?
I would nominate Patty Durden.
Really?
I
And
mean, I would.
I'd like to second that nomination if that was,
We need some discussion here. I need some discussion, Mr. President.
Okay,
Um,
any other
any other-
nominations before we discuss?
I just want to discuss my limitations. I get really unfocused sometimes, like I'll get in the middle of a discussion and won't write anything down. Just saying.
Jillian
We'll get back
is
to
the
you.
master of keeping us in line.
And we'll put
She'll tell
you,
you
During
what
open
she
Yeah.
session,
signed.
she's the one that keeps everything going.
and we'll sit you right here.
But during closed session,
By Jillian.
We got your back.
all right.
We got
But,
your back.
All right.
but as you saw in closed session, Kevin took care of the second.
He wrote things down?
Yeah.
He did?
Oh, yeah.
Kathy didn't do anything?
No.
I like
Is
it.
it Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah.
President
Oh,
slash
Just sitting here
secretary.
being brilliant, looking pretty.
Or
See,
you're
as
supposed
long
to
as
do
you do
that, I
that.
don't know.
As long as
Maybe I
you can
did
put
it.
in there in the minutes that they have my back.
Something.
We'll put Kathy right here. Julian's right
Okay,
there,
so I
you're
got
right here.
Sandwich.
You're sandwiched, you're fine.
Secretary.
That's a very safe, that sounds
There you
very, like
go.
a very safe place to be.
Yeah.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. Not your vote, but your nomination.
Any other nominations? Any further discussion, or should we vote on this one separately too?
Yeah, I mean, if there are no other
Let's do it.
nominations, let's get it done.
To vote for Patty Varden as the secretary, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Treasurer, any nominations?
I would nominate Gary Robert.
And I will second that nomination.
Okay.
Did you?
You still want to
Do
do it,
you-
Gary?
Yeah, I still want to do it. Yes, I
Okay.
do. But I'm sitting where you're sitting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit where you
You're gonna have
because
to-
right,
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, you've got to
we
come
gotta
over
be
here.
here
I-
like this.
yeah.
see.
okay.
So you'll be sandwiched
It's
too.
up to Jillian to mix it up every month.
She does, yeah, I noticed, she does that, you know, you have to
It
watch.
keeps it fresh.
Okay, any further nominations? Okay, we have a nomination of Gary Roberts continuing as treasurer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 10 is done. You want to take 11? Or you want me to do it?
It makes no difference.
No, I think you,
I mean,
You want me to do it?
that's.
I don't know, does,
You're
Wait,
officially
wait,
the chair.
Mark
You're
had a-
officially the chair.
I think in the bylaws it says that you actually go to the end of this meeting.
yeah,
There you
Oh,
go.
fantastic.
And then
The man
then
read the
switch out.
bylaws.
switch.
Stick
I
with
couldn't,
Bylaws.
remember, I couldn't remember if it
I'm
was
not sure
that
the
or
bylaws say that.
only if
Bylaws
somebody
do
is
say it goes
out,
until
but I
the
think-
July 31st.
Oh, perfect.
So
It
I'm on the
says-
board for another 2 weeks.
There you go.
Hold office until the expiration of the term. But holding office is as a director, not necessarily probably as
As
a
president.
president or
So
So I think
secretary.
we're
I
okay
defer
either
to
way.
you.
It's up to you,
Okay.
whatever you want.
So I'll keep it going
Oh, sweet.
for the moment.
Decisions made.
Number 11, acknowledgement of outgoing directors, change of officers. Congratulations for the new president and secretary and the continuing treasurer. All
Wait.
good people. I'm glad you're standing up to what needs to be done.
Isn't this where we acknowledge you?
Thank you. And say thank you for your many years of service to the school and to the board.
Okay,
Good leadership.
I appreciate that. I do want to say a couple things here at this point.
Can we say more nice things about you before you
First,
go?
before I blow it.
It's totally up to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a parent of a student in this school, I struggle to find the words to express my gratitude for the founders in having that vision, and that includes Palmdale School District, the city of Palmdale, the aerospace. It's such a great idea, and it took people who were dedicated to get it through those first years and make sure that it got off the ground and to make sure that buy-in. And I know that, you know, the people who are leaving office now, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you continuing to show up. And I'm sure that you have been here through untold challenges that just are part of, you know, the former landscape. But I have seen the change in my child since coming to this program. I mean, it has been incredibly meaningful to us and this family and this community, and you multiply that by almost 2,000. It's huge, Kevin. So thank you
It's
so
good to
much.
hear. I think that's what we're here for is the students, and I think the success speaks for itself. I think the students are happy here and doing well. Okay. Well, I wanted to say a few words and as kind of some parting statements and experience. So as the last remaining founding member of the board of directors at TPAA, I've been involved with the school since its beginnings in 2011. And I'd like to give you some of my perspectives and observations. Some may not know, I think all of you here probably do, that in addition to being on the board, I've spent quite a little time with Laura and the rest of the team in the building of this facility and the preparation of building of the other facility. Quite extensive amount of time. I estimate 3,000 to 4,000 hours over the last 5 years or so, and
Wow.
which has been my real pleasure. And I've had a great opportunity to spend a lot of time with Laura and some of her leadership team. So I think TPAA was established as an experiment emphasizing STEM education and community involvement. In the early days, we selected Laura Herman as the headmaster, and this board has delegated all the responsibilities for overall management and operations of the school to her as required by our charter and bylaws. Sometimes I think we forget that we've delegated the responsibility to run the school to Laura. It's not, I mean, the board has to provide oversight, but the day-to-day operations and knowing what's going on is up to Laura. She's demonstrated tremendous innovation and knowledge in establishing TPAA, hired a dedicated staff, created a unique curriculum, and established community involvement and excitement. After just 7 years, she is unquestionably the leading force behind TPAA's success. Her accomplishments include, I made a list of some of the accomplishments, which I think are, you look back, pretty daunting. So started off creating a grade 7 through 9 school with 540 students in 2012, and growing that to a TK through 12 school with over 2,300 students in 2019. That's a growth of 430%. She started off with a staff of 26 people in 2012, has grown that by a factor of 8 to over 200 employees currently. Starting with a $3.9 million budget in 2012 and growing that to $31 million plus, which is a growth of 800%, while maintaining a budget surplus each year. She's filled the school to capacity each year and created a waiting list, currently over 1,400 students. It's easily another school if you as board directors so choose. Clearly demonstrating exceptional community and parental support. Graduated senior classes with 95% plus of the students continuing their education, quite remarkable. Created a comprehensive set of policies and procedures, many of which are unique to TPAA. She secured and maintains WASC accreditation. And probably most daunting is she's been responsible for the design, development, funding, and construction of the state-of-the-art, STEM-infused, comprehensive TK through 12 campus that is unparalleled anywhere. I would consider this partial list to be a truly remarkable set of accomplishments for anyone I've ever worked with, including those I've worked with at NASA for over 35 years. This board and TPAA is very fortunate to have such a highly talented and dedicated leader in Laura Herman. I would strongly recommend that the board take extreme care to retain this unique talent. That said, unlike anything I've experienced in nearly 8 years on the board, I believe the board has devolved into a very unhealthy state of dysfunction over these last 3.5 months. I believe that the level of bullying, disrespect, distrust, lack of regard for the truth, and general misinformation is at an all-time high. And for the newer members on the board, some of which aren't here today, this is not normal and it's not right. I strongly encourage the board to do what's required to correct this dysfunctionality. As board members, we are bound by the California Nonprofit Public Benefit Corporation laws. These laws and duties are summarized in our own board policy number 12, which is referenced in item 15 on today's agenda, fiduciary duties of board directors. That item also reaffirms our commitment to a code of ethics. These two board policies, along with the board norms that we reviewed a little while ago, constitute our joint commitment on how to operate as a board. So my understanding of these policies are, as board members, we must fully support and act in the best interests of the school, and not in the interests of the entities that appointed us. In our case, that being the City of Palmdale or the Palmdale School District, or any other entity, for example, any associations we may be affiliated with, or for personal interests. And I would say if a member does not want to do this, they should probably resign from the board and move on to other things. It's really our duty and it's the law. It's up to each of you to make your own determination as to whether our members follow these policies and the underlying legal requirements. If not, it's your responsibility to challenge the non-compliance. I also think it's important for board members to recognize that a single director's comments, no matter how vigorously expressed, or the comments of a minority of directors does not constitute board direction. Only a majority affirmation of specific board guidance or votes on legislative actions constitute board direction. Just because a member repeatedly voices an opinion, it does not constitute official board direction. And finally, I fail to understand how a member can claim to be a fervent supporter of the school, the students, and the teachers of TPAA, yet never attend a school event, like back-to-school events, senior graduations, eighth grade promotion ceremonies, robotics and sports events, or student STEM showcases, for example. Or to a vote against a budget that provides both increased benefits and generous salary increases to the very teachers and staff at TPAA that the member claims to be fighting for. Or worse yet, to threaten to sue the school and every board member instead of carrying out those required legal duties and responsibilities to support the school. I believe our actions, not just our words, demonstrate our commitment to the school. I really believe that our job as a board is to do everything we can to enable the school to remain successful, to be the school's principal advocates, to inspire and provide great opportunities for the TPA students, and to foster hope and a sense of pride in the community. And that is decidedly not to micromanage items we have delegated to the CEO, or bicker over minor issues, or engage in personal attacks. That said, again, it's been my real pleasure to serve on the board these last 8 years, and the school's leadership team and the accomplishments are phenomenal. I wish all of you and the very talented team here at TPAA all the best. And I'll submit these statements in writing to the board to become an official part of the record for this meeting. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jeff.
And hopefully some of the things that have happened over the years, I mean, these accomplishments are phenomenal. I think it's hard to imagine where we'd be had we not had, the board and the leadership at the school that we have to get us to this point. Congratulate all of you, Laura, and your entire team.
I can't overstate the extraordinary impact that supportive board members have. And Kevin's here for weekly construction update meetings. He's helping to review plans and helping us to brainstorm and helping us to follow through. I mean, for 5 years, since we started planning this project.
First started
That's-
looking for property, I guess.
That's right. We're
In
driving around Palmdale
2013.
looking at, lots and wondering, could we build a school there? So I can't overstate how extraordinary that was. And the list of things that you read, this is what happens when a group of people with a common vision come together and just give it all up. And that's what you've got here. That's what you had when there were 26 of us. That's what you've got now that there are 200 of us. So I appreciate the board's support in moving that forward. And Kevin, I'm having a hard time imagining the board without you because, from the very beginning he's been here, but on behalf of the whole staff, thank you.
I think the historical perspective is very important. I think in today's world, we lose historical perspectives, and I appreciate you coming forth and bringing some perspective as to
Most of the board,
our path.
wasn't around in many of those early days.
Right. And I hope we see you here.
Yeah,
Maybe as an advisor to the board.
I'll be a public
You could be
spectator.
a historical or an hysterical. You could be hysterical.
That may happen on occasion too. Well, thank you all for your support, and I really appreciate this group right here has been staunch supporters of the school and everything that the management here has been trying to do, and I think that's extremely important, as Laura has mentioned. That is the job, to be supportive of the school. That's why we're here. Okay. Anybody want to counter that?
You just give us big shoes to fill. In your absence, we will just step up.
It was interesting because when I finally have a hard time reading things on computer, so I needed, and I took this home, and one of the first things I went to was the Code of Ethics and the fiduciary. And actually, the fiduciary one was the one that really hit me, because just like you said, Kevin, and I've been processing a little bit the last few meetings and so forth, and where it is our duty to the organization and not to who we represent. And it was, you know, plain, and it was interesting, gee, we probably should have put this in more than just once a year at the beginning of when we, you know, install the members, but something to, and just like, you know, I never thought of looking at these here, but I think one of the things I was gonna mention is, as under your presidency, you always, to me, were a referee, played a referee, but also, is what we're talking about, is it pushing the organization forward, or is it pushing a certain thing that isn't the organization? And you always would look at something at how does it help or how does it not help the organization, not who we individually represent. And you know, that it was interesting you brought that up too, but that's what really hit me when I first started reading this. And I think that's something that
Yeah, I
in the
think-
3 years that I've seen that you've been president, that's always hit me, is that you're a referee. And that's a hard thing sometimes to be, because a lot of times people don't want to listen to referees. But that is part of your responsibility, I think. And you always reverted to that. You always redirect. This is, hey, where is this taking us?
I appreciate that, Gary. I'm glad, I think it's a good idea too, to review these things, how are we supposed to operate every once in a while, because we've all seen that we lose perspective on how we're supposed to operate. What are we here for? We're not here for ourselves, we're not here for the district, we're not here for the city, we're here for this school. And that's the whole purpose of, you know, being a nonprofit public organization. Okay, thank you all for your indulgence. We'll move on to item 12, consideration of committee appointments.
So if I may, direct the board to the first page of the agenda where you'll see the current committee assignments. We have 3 committees. 2 of those are required by the bylaws. The third is one that is helpful, and I would recommend continue. The board can establish any committees it wants to. But we are required to have a finance committee. We're required to have an audit committee. The people on those committees should not be the same people. And then the board development committee reviews applications for board director seats and reviews and makes recommendations for ongoing board training. So, and you can see the current assignments and talk about
If I
how.
recall, I don't think the president can be on the finance or the audit committee, is that true or not?
No, I've got the
I
bylaws.
don't remember reading.
I don't
Oh, maybe
think
not.
so, but I'm gonna look.
I don't know where
Now the
I
bylaws
read
are
that.
all jumbled from all my organizations in my brain now.
It may not be, may
Committee.
not be right, I was trying to remember.
President,
I
Vice
think it's the
President.
audit committee that the president can't be. Or maybe it's the secretary can't be on the audit
And
committee.
I know
That could
I
be.
have to be on the
I mean, the
finance,
treasurer.
and I have to be on the finance.
Yeah, I think the
Yes.
treasurer has to be on the finance committee,
Yes.
which means you can't be on the audit committee.
Which means you
Right,
can't
no,
be
I
on the
can't
audit
be, I
committee,
can't be
right?
on
Correct.
I cannot be on the
Well,
audit.
if it's not in there, I may have misremembered that.
Didn't say a lot about it.
Yeah.
I'll say a little bit about the committees, but
It's not a lot.
So we have-
Yeah.
We can
Uh,
use as we-
The audit committee. Yeah, so the audit committee should not include the chairman of the board, the president, or the treasurer. So, absolutely correct. That's page 14 of the bylaws.
And that's the audit committee.
Correct.
So the finance committee can stay as it is?
It certainly can.
If we want.
If you want to be on it.
If you
Let's
want.
see, so the ones we have to
I have
change
to,
is,
I have
I'm off and Dante's off.
Right.
So you
Right?
don't have to
And
have.
So
James-
Kathy's
and
willing to
James
stay on
Durrell-
finance, so we don't.
James
have to
Durrell
change.
is off.
Yeah.
If you're gonna stay.
I have not
on it,
received
yeah,
written
then I'll
notice
stay
from
on
James,
it.
but I'll reach out to him again, because I know his intention was to step down, but I haven't received any written notice from him. So-
Well, I think maybe we should take him off of. the
Yeah,
committee.
that's fine.
Yeah.
So do we go committee by committee?
Sure.
Okay. Do we just make a motion for whoever's gonna be on there?
Once you have agreed, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
We
right
need
now we
Well,
have 6.
I think it's, you know, who wants to be on these committees, I think it's kind of,
Mhm.
we're down to
Right,
that,
and so
so,
if the finance committee's good the way they are,
you guys okay with
the
that?
audit committee we just did a
I'm
minute
fine.
ago,
And
so.
I'm good with where I am at.
Mr. Weiss, where would you like to be?
Fishing on a lick, no.
I think you do a great job at the board development.
I do too, you take my place.
Ooh, oh, well, I
No,
was not
no,
counting
I
on that
know.
mathematical.
Oh, no,
equation.
well, that's fine.
That only leaves.
Yeah.
Well, the others have 2, so that's fine.
What do you say?
Yeah, I like that one.
I can step up.
Oh,
Board
you do a
development?
fantastic job.
You don't have to sell me,
Wanna
just.
stay on there?
when you ask. But thank you so much.
So,
Patty,
Mr. Roberts,
Gary,
you
and Mark on the,
so Gary's gonna stay on that one?
I'll stay.
Okay,
anybody else
perfect.
like to be on? Or we can nominate somebody that's not here.
Is 3
That's
fine?
just fine.
Can we, or
Oh.
can we reopen it again? if we
Of course,
see if they would
you
like
certainly
to?
can.
Actually, I
Yeah,
think the
Ellen would
bylaw
like to-
says you can do it at any
We
time.
That's
can.
right.
Maybe to see if Ellen wants to,
Absolutely.
And
because I don't know.
Yeah,
Dr.
Jenna
Porter
wants
did
to
say
stay
he
on
would be
audit.
interested in serving wherever there was a need, so
There's-
when he's
Shall we
back,
volunteer
Can we
him
just
for all of
appoint him
them?
right now?
Uh,
I mean,
Quit,
that'll give us a 4th member of the board development committee.
well, but the thing is, I'm wondering if Ellen would like.
Right,
I'm sure she
so
can,
Why
maybe
don't
we'll
we can
wait a
reopen
couple
it.
of
Who's
months
interested?
and
And maybe
reopen
Jana.
it.
Sure.
And maybe Jenna
Okay.
wants to stay,
Yeah.
or maybe go to something else, but we give them the opportunity at the
Pretty
next
sure that-
meeting.
You at any time can reopen board committee assignments, so I think we can vote for the ones today, so
Yeah.
that we have standing
That's
boards,
fine.
and then.
So the current rosters that I have then for finance would be Kathy and Gary. For board development would be Patty, Gary, and Mark. And for audit would be Michelle and Gianna.
Right.
Okay.
We'll just
And
leave
then
it
when
that
we've
way.
got our crew, we'll
And then
see
we
who
got
else
others
we
that
want
they
to.
wanna move around.
Okay,
And we could just add to.
so I will make a motion, can we do all the committees at once?
Yes, we can.
I will make a motion to approve the finance, board development, and audit committees as confirmed by Dr. Herman. So, again,
Perfect.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, any further discussions? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed?
I'm sorry,
You only say
I'm
it
not
once. How
good
many
at,
times
well,
are you
I'm
gonna say
not,
it?
I'm not good.
Aye,
I
aye.
gotta,
Aye, sir.
I don't
Okay.
know. Make
Item 13, consideration of board directors meeting calendar.
Can you pull that up for us?
Click on number, the
The
proposed.
proposed calendar? Thank you.
The bylaws actually say every third Monday
Right.
and
Except for
starting at
some of those
4:15.
Tuesdays.
So I think pushing to Tuesdays because of the holidays is fine. I think changing the time would probably require a bylaw change, which I don't think we want to get into. Up to you guys.
I just feel like if we continue having a quorum, that we don't need to, I mean, I could be wrong, but if we continue having a quorum as we have for several months, I don't think we need a day or time change.
I move to approve the calendar
Well,
for the 2000.
So, in bylaws, it doesn't have to be listed, the organization meeting is supposed to be the first Wednesday of July,
Yes.
which I'm sorry I missed.
So first Wednesday of July. So we moved that to this week. I think over the years, we've usually done it in the July meeting.
Right, I'm just saying, I saw it there and I don't remember ever discussing it, so I was gonna kind of find.
Right. And your
And
point
we
is
have-
very
we-
well taken.
And we have a right to move it.
Correct, and
but
that's
we
what
need
we've
to make
done.
the dis- but we
You are
At the
correct.
should
meeting
be
before.
formal about it. But that's a 4 o'clock meeting, not a 4:15, so the time is also different.
Well,
So
probably
just be
official.
aware-
Just be aware that it's in there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, would we like to maybe move the July meeting for 2020 to that first Wednesday in July? Would we?
Oh, so it conforms to the
So
current.
it conforms to the new, I mean, we could do that, I don't, it doesn't, I'm just wondering, that's gonna be probably close to
It'll be close to the 4th, would be
fourth,
my guess.
around the fourth.
Mhm.
I don't know if people will be, it'll be,
It's kind of hard to get people in
the
July.
fourth will be
No, I-
fifth.
Especially that first week.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I think,
Did
like
it say
in
the
the,
first Wednesday?
in the June meeting,
It
you
says,
could,
it says the first Wednesday of the July period, of July.
Be
whatever
July
that is.
1.
so in the
Let's see,
June
now, that
meeting, you
shows
could
July
move to
20,
move
2020.
it
I don't have that in mind.
to the normal July date.
Because that's the
Your calendar
regular
read,
third
you
week.
have two different sides. You're looking at look at the.
She gives us always the next one too.
Fiscal,
We could change it at, like,
July 20th.
Yeah.
like Kevin said,
I think
if we want to, we can always change it at the
I
June.
see what
Yes.
you're doing, yeah.
And in
think-
fact,
I think
de facto,
officially-
that's kind of what we do when we approve this, we're approving the change to the organizational meeting. But being more explicit about it is a good
Yeah,
point.
Here's my
How
suggestion.
is the change, how are we changing it? Still the-
Well, instead of a separate organizational meeting, we do it as part of the regular business meeting. That's the change.
Why don't,
And the fact that it's posted in the agenda that way really
can
documents that you're moving that to the
Suggestion, yeah.
third Monday.
Can we maybe then put in the meeting group, can we put in there something that says, ask organizational meeting?
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
we've changed it to that, but that is our organizational meeting as to what our bylaws are.
Yes.
So we would just put, I don't think,
Mhm.
an asterisk, or you
Yeah.
could just put it in there, organizational meeting, July 20th, 2020.
And you know, one thing that I saw that actually has come up most recently is sometimes we're going to need board training.
Mhm.
And that's not reflected here, but if the board development committee had got it together, we would have had some dates for some kind of board training as well.
So with sensitivity to the idea that a slightly later start might make it easier for, sometimes for the public to attend, doing trainings or alternating between a closed session before the meeting starts and training before the meeting starts actually pushes the business meeting to 5 o'clock or 5:15 or whatever.
Which
gives you time
allows
for
the
training.
public
Right.
to get
That's
here
right.
in time, and I am
Yeah.
good with
So-
that.
Now, the August meeting, we're having a training, aren't we?
That's the plan, yes.
So should that reflect a 5 o'clock?
So
Do we have to do anything with that?
we don't, because we're here at 4:15,
Okay,
so.
This is for our
This
purposes,
is
not
for
necessarily
our-
the public.
Correct.
Got it.
okay,
Got it.
that's,
The public will start at. an
okay,
hour
that's
45
what I
minutes
was,
later.
okay, this is, I was
And the
apples
agenda
and
will
oranges.
reflect it.
I got it.
I got it
Yeah.
now. Okay, this is our internal, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I think
So,
we had a motion, I think.
well, and I wanted to just put an addenda, we're gonna put an asterisk or something saying that July 20th
Is the organizational.
organizational
Includes the
meeting.
organization.
Includes organization.
So your motion is to approve the calendar with the addition of the
Yes.
organizational meeting note.
Anybody like to second that?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a
Thank you,
second.
Mark, for looking over those bylaws.
Yeah, that's good. Sure.
If we ever have a bylaw committee.
You're-
Don't get carried away.
Okay, consideration of board directors' meeting calendar as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 14, board director's self-evaluation instrument.
So I provided the board with 3 different examples that come from different sources for nonprofit organizations. I reached out to the districts to ask them what instrument they use. And I just didn't give them enough turnaround time. So I imagine, we'll get that for you to look at as well. It's a best practice for boards to do an annual self-evaluation. I was, in my research, what I found is what is reported is about 50% of nonprofit boards actually do that, and about 50% don't. It's a good idea, it's a best practice, it's also part of our accreditation. So I would recommend that I'm looking for direction from the board as to how you might like to proceed with perhaps selecting an instrument and looking at a process for board self-evaluation.
I reviewed all three of these documents, and while I really like board governance indicators assessment, there's a lot of good stuff in here. It is also terribly outdated. There are things in here that no longer apply. And then I got to the other two, and they got better as each one progressively got better. So from my perspective, both the Charter School Board of Directors self-assessment and the board governance best practice checklist, well, the checklist is perhaps more thorough.
It's also really long.
It is really long, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. But the charter school self-assessment speaks only to charter schools and perhaps would serve us better. Anyway, that was my perspective, having read all of them.
And it's only 3 pages.
Yes.
And I would parallel Kathy's evaluation, but I see blending these and creating our own. I don't like the yes and no. I like the complete, in progress, little or no progress, you know, and then.
Right.
And maybe even there's needs where, you know, we could add a column on how we check it off. The first one I first looked at it, the board governance one, I was like, oh yeah, look at, and I got to look and I just ended up not liking that one so much, but I think we'd be better served. Like Kathy said, there's stuff in here that's outdated. It doesn't pertain to our particular situation. And as one of our absent members keeps saying, we've got a better ship here than everybody else. So why don't we evaluate ourselves to a higher level and keep striving? But I think we could take these and blend them, and maybe even add something that we come up with that we think would better serve our. This should be a tool for us to use to build a better ship, not just, oh yeah, we did that.
And to make sure we're staying on course.
Yes.
I mean, something for us to regularly, if only individually, revisit.
I was concerned when I provided you these instruments, I didn't want to touch them. I wanted you to see them exactly as they came from the websites that I got them. But I'm encouraged by what I'm hearing, because my initial thought was there's a possibility here for us to combine and edit and create something organic.
And I
I'd
would
like
venture to
to-
guess that everyone here read some of them and tried to evaluate
Immediately.
immediately. So it's kind of a good exercise.
Yeah, it was
But I'd like to get some input from the teachers on it too, because they're the ones that, you know, we're looking at it, you know, are we doing all this stuff, but they're the ones that see, yeah, you say it, that's fine in your boardroom, but that ain't happening down here because it can't. So get some reality into it.
My own thought was the third one that we're talking about here was the closest.
Which one?
But I-
Which
The
one is-
charter
is
school.
the charter
Yeah.
school?
Yeah.
It seems
So I
like a
think,
good base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think length is important. You're not gonna get through it if you got 15
Right.
pages, so.
Was that the one that was yes, no?
No,
No,
this is.
No.
Okay, that's
the
the
yeah.
one.
Okay.
Which I thought was probably
They
about
kind
the
of
right
assume
length,
that
but
There's
there
gonna
are
be,
probably some questions that aren't applicable, could be modified or changed.
I think this just kind of shows there is always room for growth.
See,
And where are we in that growth process?
the reason I kind of like this too, because I would like to have it as a, you know, maybe it's not a training, but a 45-minute where.
A work study.
We kind of,
Yeah.
work study, and it's.
How can we do better on
it
this one or
hits-
whatever?
It hits a lot of different things, but it's short where it's
Yeah.
good enough in 45 minutes. We could probably get through it, get our thoughts out, and kind of get a good idea of how we think we're doing, Laura's doing, and everybody, you know, in a time where some of these other, when you got 100 questions and stuff, you're not gonna get through a lot. Because I would like to not see this as just us doing it, but then make it into
Have a
a work
Right.
study thing.
Well, we could put a committee together to kind of refine this, or we could use a board development committee. Since Mark brought it up,
Might be
we'll take responsibility.
I can see some board development stuff that we're not doing, we should be doing.
Yeah,
which is
yeah, it
orientation
really is
for
aligned with board
members.
development.
So I'm already thinking, this is a great exercise.
It is.
It really is.
And if we decide to have the board development committee do this, I would be happy to sit with you and work with you on the board development
Or
committee
you
as
could do it as a
extra.
work study session too, if you choose. Talk about
I
that.
did, you're gonna, yeah, you wanna do this, I can tell. Look how excited you are.
Would there be value in starting where we're at on this? Like, because it doesn't seem like this would be very hard to put into like a Google form pretty quickly. Share that with board members so that we individually do like an assessment, gather that data, and then the meeting we have, we look, here are the responses, here's where collaboratively we feel we are, and just go down. That way if there's some, all the things nobody wants to say or be the one to start it, it'll come out in the pudding if there's 7 responses that all look the same, and kind of gives us a place to work with. So we've got this data, and then we refine what are the other questions and things, because maybe on the Google form is what other questions would you like to see the board
That's a good idea.
evaluating?
It's
And then
actually
we've
not a
got all
bad
that
idea at all.
to come together with, so we're not starting at scratch at that one meeting, because it's reasonably good. I think we'd all like to add some things to it. But the sooner we dive in, because we're making so much good progress, then maybe it defines our work a little bit more clear as we move forward as to exactly how the board development committee then wants to, talk about what the next PDs are, or as a result of that 45-minute study session where we review just the initial outtakes, and then we just improve it year over year, based on where we see we're going.
Michelle, what you said sounds great, except you lost me at the Google Doc.
Jillian's
No,
gonna
I
give
got
you a
you.
Mark's got
Just
you.
use your Google.
Just
What
Google
I'm
it.
saying is, say, though,
Just Google it.
is that you just forget these and just start with this one.
Pick one, or if there's a couple of questions from the others we want to add, or if we want to use a different one, but it's a start
Yeah,
somewhere.
the easiest thing is to pick this one
It
and
was the
then
same thing.
And then
each
just
member
go-
adds.
It's like-
It's like
And that would
I
save
want
at
to
least
create-
an
yeah,
initial
I do
committee
that
meeting.
document,
Yeah.
create it
Right.
into a-
Well, hey, I'm only listening,
With
I'm only listening for one, so don't be adding two, This president.
That would save an initial meeting and if.
Right, and then we got a concise list of all the questions
Well,
people
not
want
only
to add.
that, but
Okay.
if you guys are okay with it, getting it out to the staff, we can just send,
Right.
give them access to it, and they can put in whatever. And maybe they wanna do it anonymous, we can keep it anonymous to make them feel safer.
Or maybe we start with 10 questions so the staff doesn't have to do it, but what are
Right.
our
Oh,
top
yeah.
things
Yeah.
we want the staff feedback on?
Right.
And that's another quick, easy Google form, and we get that feedback right away, and graphs and charts, and nobody has to do it themselves.
So, okay, again, so I like the idea. Our next meeting, though, we've got boardmanship, right? So, is this something we would like to September have Jillian send out this form and I have this?
No.
Except I would have to put on the,
No, I will do it, I will get her help when I get bogged down, for the
Okay.
mechanics of it. I'll put it together so she
and then it's gonna be
She's got
sent
enough.
to us
I will get it to you as soon as I
Online.
get it done. Yes.
online, and so what
Yes.
we would wanna do is have all of us
I
do
want
our
to have
own,
it for you all.
and we'll send back, we would send back our,
It becomes a live document, anything you write, everybody else sees.
great, but I mean, therefore, then we have a compilation, so like what you're saying, we're not starting from scratch,
Yes.
we're saying, hey,
Add to
everybody
it,
likes
adding
this,
on.
adding to it,
Yes.
we have everybody's, and then we use that as our starting point for a little work study in September.
And if we launch it as a form, Gary, you'll literally get an email that says, click on this link, and it'll be question 1, and it'll say, school has well draft, and you'll tick the complete, you'll tick that box. It'll all feed into a spreadsheet that'll
Got it.
have all that data, and then we'll be able to look at it,
When we meet,
and all of the
So-
extra
So you're
questions.
thinking of doing it as a forms?
I think we can do it either way.
Okay.
For those who are savvy and hopping into a sheet, we could probably pop into it, but a form is real easy and it puts all the
Yeah,
data in the
what
right
you do is
box.
what- Okay. Because my thought process was develop what it looks like first, then, but I can do it as a form, put it out so you guys can vote on it, and then adoption. I'll tell whether you do it as a doc or as a sheets, either way. Okay, I'll put it together, send it out, and you guys tell me how you want to change.
Okay, so
and
first we're
we
looking
can
at,
always put it.
Probably
The
better to get it
tool
sent to
itself.
Jillian, let her.
Okay, that's probably better. I'll
Right.
send it to Julie, and then she can forward it
okay,
to everybody.
so first we're looking at developing the tool. This is the tool,
Okay.
okay?
I'll start
And
first.
then we will use it, as you said,
Yeah.
kind of a build
All-
a plane as you're flying kind of a gal.
I'm with you,
because that's how that
I'm
goes,
on
right?
it, I'm on it with you.
I mean, if we're okay with this being the format that we like, but we like some of these questions and some of these
We
questions.
can do that all at
Right?
once?
We
Yes.
like a format,
We
we'll
can do it
take
all at
what's
once.
on here, it's gonna
I like-
look just like this, you can pick one for complete, you know, it'll say complete, in progress, learning, not applicable. Someone will literally just have to click the button that says that on each of the questions, and we can add maybe 10 extra questions where if you, are there other
Or
questions you would
could
like
add
to see?
blank, and they could put
Exactly.
what they would like to see on the form.
I've written enough tests and forms, I'll get it for you.
Oh my God.
I just wanna make sure that we're all eventually using the same tool.
Yeah.
It will go out
Okay.
to everyone the same, because the form will look just like it does. We do the first round with these questions, but an
Okay.
opportunity for any board member to add the
To add
additional
to.
questions they'd like to see as part of the tool.
But on the initial one, I probably might not anybody.
Perfect.
It'll be-
And then we
it'll
can
just-
talk about it
it'll
at the
be,
meeting
I
if we
own
wanna
it,
add on.
you guys answer it, we'll just give it to you as a test,
Yep.
and then we'll
Okay.
amend it as
So
makes
we need to.
if I may,
Of course.
I'd like to summarize to make sure that I understand very clearly what the direction is. I want to make sure we've got this right. And I want to say, thank you for volunteering to make the form.
I heard that
That's-
happen.
I'm gonna just,
We
I'm
heard, we all
gonna,
heard
yeah.
it.
I was
That's
blown
wonderful.
away. I'm so excited. It's usually
It's in the
so
minutes,
Oh,
right?
sure.
It's fantastic.
Then it happens.
So-
Good.
So Mr. Weiss is going to put together the form that essentially is going to follow example 3.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes.
He's going to send that to Ms. Marks, who will send that to the whole board, and you'll just basically do your own self-assessment.
You-
All of that, because of the way Google works and the magic of the whole thing, it compiles all the results and will give us a nice, robust platform to have a conversation. As you are doing your individual evaluations, you will make notes of other things you'd like to add, if
I
you
will-
want to,
I
and if
will
you
add
don't.
that- I will add that as a piece at the
Oh,
very bottom.
So the last question will
Question
be,
number
what
12,
other things would
whatever,
you like to add?
Is make other, other suggestions.
So then this, I would suggest that this particular conversation actually feeds the training about boardsmanship. Because it all kind of goes together. So it might be that the board decides you'd prefer to do this conversation first and then the boardsmanship training, either in the same
September.
meeting or in the September meeting. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
reversing that order.
August, this would be
Kevin.
August,
August.
and then
So
the
if
boardsmanship
you
is
were rotating
September.
off, I would like
Definitely come
you
first.
to respond. I'd like to make sure, even though Kevin's rotating off, that this gets to Kevin and he puts his input in because
I'm changing my emails.
We can get it in. We should be good to go.
that's true.
We know where to find it.
Now, is that a motion that we're doing?
This is just guidance. You don't need to take
Somebody
legislative
can-
action. I just want to make sure I understand what the process is you're recommending.
Are we, okay, but are we directing you to do this?
Oh, I think we
I
can.
want-
Mark
Yeah.
volunteered.
I think we can
I think
summarize.
I would like
what
something-
Laura said.
I would like something like, for example, okay, we're considering, okay, the board, the board decided to have, a self-evaluation done by each of the members, and that they will have a work study at the August meeting. So
To
that
review the
this
data.
was something we as a board decided to do.
So you can take legislative action. You could make that a motion if you wanted to, and that would be,
I would like that because
Appropriate.
there are board members that aren't here that may say, why did you do that?
There you
We had a quorum and we felt that this was good for the organization.
perfect.
Okay, so I guess I just want to move, what am I,
So I think you're
Great.
moving that the board selected
After
example 3.
After consideration of the instruments for self-evaluation, the board has decided
To
to create a self-evaluation tool that we will,
complete for a work study at our August meeting?
So if we want to transform that into a motion, move that
We're gonna change it.
the board begin its self-evaluation
Wait a minute.
process with example 3.
Mark, we were
Okay.
thinking of changing, did you say August?
no, you said August, I'm thinking August is kind of like,
It was
really?
a little soon.
Well,
I
the
agree.
reason why
But if we're doing that training.
Laura said that it might be better to have this self-evaluation first.
I mean, I can have the form done and out to everybody, it's just, what if our people that aren't here, how are they going to understand?
Is it unreasonable to say September and October instead of August and September? I mean, are we going too far out?
It's just a matter of how much, will they all pick up on it and know what to do with the Google form?
I think there's an explanation that comes in
Yeah.
the form of
We are
the email,
assuming
it should be
everyone knows
pretty
how to work Google.
self-explanatory.
Especially if we
Well,
make it
that's why
September,
we
we
use a
can
form
review
that
it
says
again
the
in
link
October.
and
Well, I understand
Valid.
that,
But yes,
but
that's
do
true
they still
story.
know how to do the
Do
links?
they have their
I'm
Gmail?
working
Do
with
they?
people that don't know how to.
I get it.
Oh, yeah, I can reach her.
Because
They
I'm
can
gonna say,
review it all.
Yeah, I'm
maybe
good with
Jen
that.
has questions, she'll ask.
Right, right, and
Sure.
she, and
Or-
you'll
I'm
preface
just so
this whole
excited
thing,
about
the
the
explanation
I don't think
and how to
anyone's
do
gonna
it.
have a
I'm looking at
If Jenna has a question, she would go, Dr. Herman, what?
think-
I'm good either way,
Julie,
however you wanna do it.
Are you good at
And
giving
I agree.
instructions to
Yeah.
non-Googleites?
Okay,
That's my biggest concern.
Okay.
We're
You're gonna have to
assuming
walk me
everyone
through
knows
it,
how to
but-
follow links and do all that,
Well,
but not
this
everybody
is
does.
my only suggestion, is just because I agree, like, it'd be better if we had everybody here so that they all understood what we were talking about. However, it's rare, like last month we did basically have everybody.
Right.
That doesn't happen all the time, so I'm afraid if we try to wait until everybody's here, it'll just keep getting pushed back.
Right.
So yeah, I'd be happy to explain it to anybody, I can
Yeah.
take phone calls, I can do whatever I
Okay.
can to help that.
That's my only concern, because again, not everybody, to those of us that play with it, oh yeah,
It's
do a
fine,
Google
it's no
form,
Right, dump
how-
it in the
it's
sheet, you
just
got
like
all
no
your
big
graphs.
deal, but then,
Jillian
for
can
some
do it.
that
The
never
board
work with that
wants us
stuff,
all
it's
to
really.
do this.
Yeah.
We have a work
And I'm happy to
study.
help.
Because
I understand what you're
You're
saying.
okay,
Because
time
in
wise,
the
we're
forms,
not
we'll
jumping
come up
on
with
you.
We'll just question.
She
Right,
can
there'll
do
be
the
questions
linear
and then you'll just have to
why.
pick.
And I
Right.
think August
But
and
if
September.
if they're thinking
Wow.
and say this,
Yeah.
True.
that's good,
I'm
good
gonna look a
proof.
little different.
All right. And that we will have a, work study.
So what if the direction from the board is simply that there's a motion to proceed with board self-evaluation based on example 3 with the specific direction and timelines, as noted. So that would be for August and
Right.
September.
Right.
So
August would be this, and September
would be the board training.
Mark made a really good point and said that you could do the setup of the form. So if there is someone who is not Google savvy, theoretically they could fill one out and then somebody just pops in.
And we're happy to do that,
Both
of
ways.
Yeah,
course.
because I can always.
Because when they do forms, it will not look like this.
It'll
Exactly,
look like a
So
search.
if
It'll
they're
just be a
expecting it to
question at
look
a
like
time.
this, if
That's
they're gonna
right.
go, well, wait a minute.
that's right.
So,
But I'm happy to take a hard copy as well, and I can put that
Okay, I
into
think
the
someone
information.
want to
Right.
make that motion that Laura just summarized?
I so moved.
Okay,
You
so
want
the
to-
motion
I'll
is
second
to do the board director self-evaluation instrument based on example number 3 and facilitate that over the next month or so.
That's
Okay,
it. And
Second?
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think the only thing is that, and would be to have a work study in
Okay.
August on that.
Okay.
Because we want to try to get.
And to
be
refine the
started,
instruments
and, you know,
and
we
have
could-
the
To be
conversation.
reviewed at the next board meeting.
And we can decide at that point if when we want to review it again,
Right.
we could bring it
Do
back.
we want to take it again or
months ago.
refine it?
Put somebody
or
else in
just
charge of
for
it,
next
whatever.
year? Right.
It's a working document.
To transfer
Working
over
document.
to-
Okay.
Okay,
Did you open your
and number
I
14.
missed it. Did we get a
mouth?
second?
Did we?
Oh,
Yes,
no.
I'll second it.
Could you send me,
Michelle second.
Did we vote?
the,
Now we're
Yeah,
allowed to
flip
talk
art.
about it.
so I can put this kind of stuff
Oh,
on
yeah,
top of the
definitely.
form?
Any
Send
further
that to me at your
discussion?
earliest convenience.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Number 15, consideration of affirmation of code of ethics.
Would you
Board
pull up the
policy
code?
number 4.
Yeah, there you go, thanks.
Are there changes to this?
No, this is, we affirm this every year.
You just need a motion.
Mhm.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consideration of affirmation of conflict of interest policy, another one that we have to do on a yearly basis.
Can you call that one up too? Thank you.
And any changes to this one?
No changes to this policy, just affirmed every year. And this is actually the policy that governs our submission of Form 700, which we also do every year.
I move.
Second.
Motion is a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 16, consideration of affirmation of conflict of interest policy. Consideration of appointments to the TPAA Foundation Board.
So per the direction that I think I understood from our last meeting, we advertised in the paper, we made an all call, it's prominently posted on our website, both for Foundation Board and for our TPAA at-large board seats. We did receive 2 applicants for the Foundation Board. One of those we received prior to publishing the agenda. We sent that out to you. The other we provided in hard copy. Both candidates are well qualified. I don't have any personal knowledge of either one of them. However, I'm more than happy to move forward with meeting with them and talking about an appointment if that's the board's wish. So,
Here is my concern. I have personal knowledge of Ms. Flores.
Mhm.
And I have no problem moving forward if we wanted you to, but are we in jeopardy with the Brown Act because we have only one person on our agenda? Do we need simply to vote on Ms. Garibay and put Ms. Flores on the next agenda? That's my concern, the pesky little Brown Act.
The agenda item does say the board is asked to consider appointment of 2 directors.
right.
But
I'm-
we listed only one.
Well,
But-
that's,
And so I'm just asking. I honestly don't know the answer.
So it's at the meeting, we got a hard copy, is that sufficient?
but it's not sufficient for the public, though it was in the book.
So it was in the physical copy?
Yeah, it was in the
not-
physical book, but not Friday morning when I posted the agenda. To be on the safe side, if you want to vote on one
Can we
today.
notify Ms. Flores?
Absolutely.
And have we put the foundation at any risk because we now have 2, we're good.
No.
We have a functioning foundation.
And, oh, yes, absolutely. And the
Okay.
board, I would ask the board to consider, and this didn't require listing because she's already a director, but simply reaffirming Nardi Lopez as a continuing director. That's why you got her resume. But she is already a director and a signer for the LLC.
But our reaffirmation is not necessary.
No, she stays on whether you do or not.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Can
we're
we-
good. So then we will have 2 board members. We've
Correct.
said we want 3.
Which is a quorum.
Mhm.
so they
Right,
can
so
do-
we're good.
Mhm.
And then let Ms. Flores know,
We'll
That-
agendize her for next month.
we'll agendize her for next month, and that way we're all covered.
Perfect.
Honestly,
Let's
Do
not
we
miss.
have to reappoint the affirmation?
If you don't, it's as if you did. So,
Just a formality.
I would,
Because-
I'd like you to, but
I have no
The only thing is,
problem.
but I would think that should still be.
her name should be on there.
Yes.
Yeah. So if
So
you
maybe
don't yet,
do-
she's still there,
do
so we can do
Flores
that next month as
Next
well.
month,
Sure.
reaffirmation so that we have it
Absolutely.
down in the agenda,
Got it.
those 2.
Okay.
Perfect.
And we'll
Okay,
go with
so-
those, so we're just gonna vote on.
So we'll only consider the one nomination.
Okay.
Pamela
Gaspar?
Yeah.
Gaspar?
Gaspar, yeah.
I can't pronounce it.
Oh, it's because every time I do.
I thought maybe you knew.
Yeah, no, because I confuse these 2 ladies all of the time.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to appoint Ms. Gaspar? I would love to do that.
Go ahead.
I'd like a
You just
motion
did it.
to approve
Motion
Pamela
and a
Gaspar
second.
to, well,
Okay.
Consider Ms. Gaspar's application for the foundation board. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we
Any
have a
opposed?
second?
Yep.
Absolutely.
very fast.
Okay, consideration of 1920 Dynamic Therapy Solutions contract.
So-
This is a carryover from last
I'm
month's.
sorry. So, in essence, Ms. Gaspar is gonna be brought back next meeting.
No,
Flores.
that's
No,
Trixie.
Flores.
Trixie Flores is.
We just voted
It's
on it.
Flores.
just
We just
voted
voted
on
on
it.
this.
I
Just
Yeah.
thought we just voted on an application. I mean, I don't know what that means.
Oh, my intention was to
Well, it
appoint her.
says
It says
consideration
that
of appointment.
appointment, yeah, no, okay. So we did do.
Absolutely.
Okay, for some reason I heard application somewhere in there. and I
Oh,
was like,
sorry.
What are we doing? Okay, never mind. Next one.
Okay, the dynamic therapy solutions contract.
Thi-
Carried over from last month.
This was the one that was incorrectly attached to the document, correctly this time, but I apologize, there is a typo in the agenda. It says the middle high school cost, the budgetary impact, which was a line that we added. Middle high school was 190, and it says elementary school 375. The 375,000 is the total,
Yes,
which you
it's
saw in the contract,
185.
so it's 185,000 for the elementary school. These are approximate numbers.
Laura, I just had a real quick question.
Mhm.
We have in there for 18-19, we had 62 in the middle school, high school, 62 cases, 18 evaluations, I think.
Mhm.
And it was 183. And now that's gonna go to 190, which is fine, but on the elementary, it's 185 and we had 30 cases, maybe 20 more, so a total of 50, and it's only 5,000 less. Why is it more hours at the elementary that they're doing for less cases, or what?
Some of this is guesswork. I mean, just in the last 4 weeks, I can tell you that those numbers have increased. We're up to, we've got 64 identified students in the elementary school now, whereas last month we had 50. So we knew that and tried to build that in.
Okay. This one.
Any further discussion on this one? Okay. See if we can have a motion yet.
Oh, oops.
I moved that we approve the contract with Dynamic Therapy Solutions, the 219-220 Dynamic Therapy Solutions contract.
I will second the motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consideration of update to board policy SP 20, physical restraint. This was also a redo from last month.
And we were asked to add some language specific to training and specific to parent notification, which we did.
And this is actually now SP number 033, correct? Not 020?
That's correct. I just didn't want
Okay.
to list it as an attachment and an agenda item as the 033 because you guys haven't approved it technically as 033. If you want me to do that differently in the future, I'm happy to do so. I
Because
just thought I don't want to.
020 is something
Yeah.
Yeah,
entirely
it's
different.
different, but
Very
because
cool.
it's currently
Okay.
listed as that, that's why I did put that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is new student policy.
So in
It's
the
now
notes, it's
becoming
the
033.
prior 020,
Right.
currently 033.
Okay.
Boys neck.
I will move to approve because I am the one who asked for those changes and I am sufficiently satisfied. We're good.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. 21, consideration of MOU with Riverside County Superintendent Schools for participation in the Center for Teaching Innovation Induction.
So new teachers have to go through a 2-year process of induction. We have contracted with Palmdale School District. We have contracted with the high school district. Both of those districts, for essentially the same reason, because they have difficulty providing mentors for us, have politely said, we're sorry, we can't support your program. We've grown too much. It was okay when I had 5. It's not okay when I have 15 or 20. They can't provide us with the mentors. So we went looking and we found Riverside. And they can, we can do a combination of providing mentors internally. They can provide us with mentors. Some of it can even be done online. So this seems to be the best solution for all concerned. And historically, we have always covered the costs for BITSA. And that's not, all districts don't do that, but historically,
Then we've got so many new teachers
I
in the
know.
high school district, probably at Palmdale too. I mean, if they can't find teachers.
that's right. And why would they want to drive to another campus when there's one 2 doors down at the campus where they're teaching?
And we're all retired.
So.
Well,
Mhm.
how are you going to select what they refer to as the reflective teacher, the support teacher?
Mhm.
Is Is that from your own campus, or how are we gonna get those?
So
Because I
it's
know
a-
what a struggle it is in Palmdale to
That's
get
right.
people to do it,
That's
so-
the whole thing. So there is an option where we can have online support for our teachers. So the county can provide a mentor and their meetings are mostly digital. So that's part of it, which I think will make it easier for us to provide the on-site support from our experienced teachers because they won't have to do quite so much. So we're still hammering out the details, but we think we'll be able to find a path. On our initial inquiry to our staff, we do have some folks who are willing, who are very qualified, so I think we can make it work.
Maybe blend the,
Yeah.
online and
Online all by
'cause
itself,
The amount of, online, I don't see that being too successful.
right, not by itself.
No, and when I say not successful, that's not slamming the new teachers, they have a lot of questions, you just can't.
It's just, yeah,
You gotta have that face to face.
I agree.
And if I read, because of the way the letter wrote, the agency representative, that's going to be, Ms. Jenkins?
Oh, well, she's in HR, so she's the representative for
Right,
negotiating.
well, I'm just saying, because they refer to an agency representative
Mhm.
on site, so who that will be for us.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But again, we're still negotiating the very specifics of this. I'm not sure what will require it. I think
Okay.
it'll depend on how much is done proportionately online versus in person
Right.
and how they assign that staff, so. We'll do a report out on that, in the middle of, or let's say at the beginning of second quarter and let you know how it all unfolded if you'd like. Because they'll be into it at that point,
Mhm.
assuming that you'll approve us going forward with this one.
I move, do we have a motion?
No.
No.
I move that we approve the memo of understanding with Riverside County Superintendent of Schools for participation in the Center for Teaching Innovation Induction Program.
That is pretty long, but I will second that, I'm just not gonna repeat it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. Number 22, consideration of services agreement with partners in special education.
I move that we renew the agreement with Partners in Special Education, PSE, for the 2019-2020 school year, approximately $26,000.
We have a second?
1 second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this one?
I would just remind the board, this is a renewal of a contract, and we've had good results from their services, which we've scaled back, and they've still stepped up as we needed them, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 23, education protection account spending.
I move that we move to expend the education protection account EPA spending plan as is on certificate of salary and benefits. And that's right, it can only go to.
Correct.
It is not something that classified.
Or administrative.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so move number 23. Number 24. 18-19 one-time fund spending plan, similar to the previous one, yes.
I move that we spend the one-time funds in the spending plan on the certificated benefits.
So what, I'll second it, and then we can talk.
Mhm.
So it says one time, so that will only be.
So the way the state, and Gary, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately is when they have monies to be allocated for things, they do it as one-time funds. Because right now we have this money and you can spend it on these specific things, but they don't want to commit to it long-term, so.
We already had this budgeted, so that means we can spend the money that's
Right, if we spend this on benefits, that frees up
We can
something
move-
else.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Well, we knew this was coming, it was in the budget. It's
Correct.
just, they call it one time.
Oh, okay. You know,
This,
Every year they call it one time.
this
because
was
they-
in the budget?
Mhm. Projected, now this is actual, this is
Okay.
actually what we got, so it was
So
approximated.
assuming that it doesn't come next year, then is there a place in the budget where you can pull that so that you don't, it's easy to give, but it's hard to take away? That's my
Well,
concern.
the thing is that, you know, it's something that can have, like, for example, we'll have, we won't increase the benefit cap, but we'll get an extra $50 a month. So, but that's only for this year. Next year, that $50 could be, and all certificated members know that ahead of time, that
Okay.
it was one time, you know, it's a boost, maybe they'll have it next year, maybe not, and it all depends.
Okay, no, I'm not,
It's not something, and I'm sure,
I'm ignorant of this,
Laura,
so-
I'm sure that administration has notified certificated the same way.
guess what, we
You know,
got this
here's
extra
this
funding.
extra money, so that's it, but don't bank on it, count on it.
Okay.
Am I correct on that?
Mhm, Absolutely.
Okay, I think we had a motion and a second on this. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 24 as stands opposed. Consolidated application.
I'd go with that one, but I have no idea, I'm looking at all
Yeah.
that stuff, you gotta keep. I mean, I'll move it, I have a hard time understanding
Potential
all
more
that stuff.
money, so that's a good thing.
This
I
is
will-
voted on purpose.
I will second the motion, and I read it, my eyeballs have fallen out of my head, but
I apologize for that, I realize that it's a bit convoluted. This is our application for federal funding for Title I, Title II.
So Gary made the motion, Kathy seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
I didn't see where any money was,
It wasn't.
Well,
yeah, I just kept.
Yeah, I didn't even put an amount because I don't know what it is yet.
The application.
We're just, yes, we would like, and we will do
Yes.
all the
Apply
things we
for the
need
money,
to.
you know.
Yes,
Oh, I
yes,
see.
please.
Care of
Got
it.
it.
It's an application, approving an application.
Okay, item 26, local authorization for teaching assignments. 1920.
I move the proposed teaching assignments from the credential committee meeting July 12th, 2019. How it's worded in here. I was just looking.
That was great.
Yes, I move that we accept the proposed teaching assignments from the credential committee meeting held July 12th, 2019.
Well, since Gary's my resident expert, I will second that.
Now we can have discussion.
Yes.
And unfortunately, my computer decided it wanted to update, so I don't have all the details I wanted to ask about, so I'll generalize. Several of the teachers are listed as being GTT, have been trained in GTT. Okay, which of the modules have they been trained in? None of them are listed in those particular teachers. This, for those of you, we're talking about PLTW.
Do you,
Teachers.
Which
that are
normally is
trained.
the 2-week immersive.
Well, there's 10, for the middle school level, there's 10 modules. They're 9-week, they're designed as 9-week programs, which means if you're going to rotate them, you've got 4 different modules that you need to be trained in at a cost of between $3,000 and $6,000 per training. So we've just listed GTT in general. My question is, which of the modules are these teachers trained in
So-
which they're gonna?
I'm gonna apologize because I'm not gonna be able to give it to you off the top of my head, but I can tell
To be
you,
honest with you, I didn't expect you to be able to.
thank you.
So, yeah, no, it's.
But
because
I will
this
tell
is-
you strategically how we do
He
this.
probably can tell us all the details of it.
might
And
be
I'm
able
sorry,
to.
give me your name again.
Brian Martin,
Brian could probably tell us all the nuts and bolts.
Automation, robotics, energy, and the environment.
Oh, stop.
Medical detectives, yeah, and they stretch them out to a semester actually. So
Okay, and that,
most teachers
that was,
teach 2 modules.
see, he's already ahead of me, because that's where I was gonna go to next, is they're designed as 9 weeks, not a chance in the world to do it correctly in 9 weeks.
It
And
takes
whether or
longer.
not you stretch it to take it in a whole semester.
So we have a grade, 7th grade, 6th grade has chosen different modules than 7th grade, has chosen different modules than 8th grade. They're not always the same from year to year, but every teacher in that grade level is trained on those modules. So that's the strategy that we have used to
Okay.
make sure that whatever grade level they're teaching, they've got the training in those modules. Nobody teaches a module that they haven't been trained in.
In the future,
Would you like the grid?
just list which ones that are,
You
instead
got
of using GTT, because that covers all 10,
Mm-hmm.
list the ones that they're actually having the
Absolutely.
training in.
Happy to.
I didn't notice anything in their K-5.
They will all go through a training. We're bringing them here. Am I getting that right? Yeah. So PLTW is actually
PLTW
coming
said
here
that
for
the
launch.
instructions, so you're gonna get a
So they
master
will.
trainer here.
But
and
we
do-
don't have to do a local authorization for them. The local authorization process is because we don't take Perkins money, so we're not doing a CTE program.
Right,
So we're
Right.
simply authorizing that with this robust training,
right,
these teachers can
Yeah.
teach these
I
courses.
did not.
And just as a matter of course, also, you should know that teachers volunteer for this, and they're
Crazy
excited
not to.
about it, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
no, really,
It's a
I'm
fun
glad we
program.
have that program, because it's an excellent program.
Right, and
No,
nobody's
they're just
directed
saying-
to do it, they all
Okay.
volunteer, so.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
26, aye. Opposed? Item 27, consideration of contract with Blank Room LLC. Board is asked to consider some ongoing work with Blank Room.
Is this mine?
Mhm.
Yeah, what I wanted was, I wanted to, I'm a little concerned with, I just wanted to see what their contract was, how long what do we have them for? Are we contracted for next year with them? Because I have some concerns about having them as on retainer or whatever. Just again, one of the things that we got, one of the letters, that was sent, Blank Room, there's 2 letters that were enclosed, Laura. I think the first one, again, whoever is writing these, I think it's Bordeaux. I have a hard time with sometimes for example, your letter unfortunately contains a number of inaccuracies and mischaracterizations of statements made by in my correspondence to Mr. Maldonado. That being said, it is TPA's fine. Leave the sentence out. To me, it's adversarial. I don't, let's get over that adversarial. I have a concern when he's our representative writing letters to us, or, for example, when he writes here, with respect to the adequate assurance requested that the board ensure Mr. Carter fully and properly participates in the decision-making process in his official capacity as a duly designated voting member. I do not believe the board can ensure I understand that. We're picking, we're becoming adversarial again. Those are the things that I think only increases the dysfunction that we have. We don't need stuff like that in letters. And I just feel that, like in Rome, I'm not comfortable with them being the board's attorneys, and that, the other group, the one that did our Brown.
Young man.
They seem to be, I don't know, but they haven't been writing stuff, so I don't know, but I would like to go with it, because this person here, Mr. Bordeaux, some of the things, you just leave it out, because that's what I want to, same thing with Darren's not here. Darren, there's certain things, just let it go. But there are certain things that has to stick, and when you put in little things like that, it doesn't come to a solution, I think it divides again, it's adversary.
You know, I think
So
a
that's
lot of
what I-
attorneys will posture, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's a
that's what it
posture,
is.
that's what they do. And so I would imagine anybody who's posturing to oppose something is going to put that's their argument down on paper. That's kind of,
And the district's attorneys did the same thing.
I have to disagree. I read a lot of attorneys' letters over the years, and frankly, I was embarrassed to say that these folks wrote that letter on our behalf. Yes, you're right, they posture, that's their job. Their job is to take our part, but it was immature and self-serving and embarrassing. And I would stand up and say the same thing with the board members sitting in the audience if I felt the same way about the letters that were written back to us. I don't like these folks, particularly after my dealings with young Minnie in court. After my search for other attorneys' firms, there's a lot of good guys out there. That being said, if Blank Rome is in the middle of doing work for us, we've contracted for that work. I'm not here to pull the rug out from underneath them, but I'm going to go with Gary and express my displeasure in the way they've behaved so far. Yeah, I'm not happy with them.
And I guess the thing is, that I don't know when we do contracts, but when your contract comes up for renewal, I don't know, do we do renewal, or how does it
So-
work?
So let me speak to kind of where we are in this process and how this has worked. This wasn't a written contract. This was an engagement specific to these particular issues, and we didn't go well. There was a process that we went through to ask them to help us with these particular issues. As you saw, we received a letter from the district's attorney indicating that we had met the requirements of their notice to cure, which is great news. That, of course, is pending completion of the investigation. So I would say that this particular engagement isn't over until we get this investigation done. Now, what does Blank Rome do? They get the ball rolling so that the investigator is entirely independent. But until it's finished, I would say we need to continue on and allow them to finish, how would I say, navigating the details of that.
The issue that they're currently working on.
Correct.
But did I hear you say we don't have a contract with
So it's an engagement, not a contract. So with attorneys, that's why we're billing by the hour. We haven't contracted for X number of hours.
We
This
don't
was
have a
just as
retainer,
needed.
we don't
Correct. We don't have a
guarantee them
retainer.
any money,
That's right.
we just pay them for the hours that they spend.
Correct.
if we can just work out things without involving attorneys.
That's better still.
Wonderful
Wouldn't that be
life.
wonderful?
I also, I understand and I hear very clearly the distaste for the adversarial nature. I will communicate that most certainly. I will also tell you that there's been back and forth for some time, and it is a struggle not to feel that pressure to be adversarial, especially when the attorneys get involved.
I think it was more reactive than adversarial.
It's difficult. It is very difficult, and it's counterproductive. So I'll communicate that. But as I said, we're about at the end of this part of the process. So does that answer the?
Yeah, no, I was wondering if there was a contract, and again.
It was a board action that we took a couple of months ago to engage them, and so it was with respect to these particular to this particular issue, which was combined. Remember, everything kind of unfolded fairly rapidly
But Laura, there wasn't a board action.
Yeah, there was.
out of closed session.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, there was too.
On
To allow-
April 15,
We
19,
don't
the
have the
board approved.
minutes.
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Yeah,
I
we did.
have-
I
I
remember
have
we
Here
we
it is
gave
here.
somebody authority to.
The 15th of April. So let me just say,
Material.
I don't necessarily disagree. I would say that the district's letters were also hostile at a minimum.
The issue is not hostility. It's the juvenile language and confrontational manner. It was embarrassing. I don't want an attorney who speaks like that representing me. Bottom line, either you're a professional or you're not. That being said, they're in the middle of this. I don't want to pull them out. I don't want to switch attorneys mid. That serves no purpose. Yeah, we're making progress. We're moving forward.
The tone has clearly shifted,
The
let's not
tone
go
is- exactly.
to another
Let's-
place.
Yes.
But I would have to concur that, you know, I think we all went, oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
not,
Mm.
oh, we would,
Yeah.
and so we never want that to happen, right? And
Exactly.
if that comes through guidance, because these attorneys are working for us, that, you know, we pause and we review and we reflect a little bit before, you know, I mean, it's the old adage of that email. I can't tell you how many I draft at 4:30 in the afternoon when I'm having a certain feeling that I let sit there until 9:30 the following morning and see if I still have that exact same feeling. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work because things move very quickly and we address, and it's just an opportunity for growth in the way we communicate.
I'm feeling like we're 3/4 of the way down the road. We don't need to switch
Turn back, we
horses.
don't need to turn back.
No.
And I did receive a report today that you saw in the letters that we provided 3 different independent investigators. Apparently, the good ones are very busy. So we're to the point now where of these 3, we found one that's got room for us. So that's moving forward. So I heard that today. But I was told in no uncertain terms, if they're sitting around waiting for an investigation, that's not the one you hire. So it's good that they're busy. So we now have a letter of engagement with one of the 3. So.
Oh, you mean these are one of the busy, we might have got one that's not busy. It's
No,
not
apparently
like-
we got one that's busy and we're lucky that.
That's what I meant. We didn't get the one like school started and you hired a teacher 5 weeks.
That's exactly right. That's exactly, that's how I interpreted that,
Okay.
yes.
I'm done. My,
Okay, so I think, so the direction is basically to note that with them.
And finish up what we're doing.
right, and it's not a retainer, there's no
Right.
contract.
Correct.
I think one thing we gotta be a little careful of, I mean, you know, the school's now a $30 million corporation, so I would imagine Laura talks with attorneys multiple times a week,
More than I'd
various
like to.
attorneys we've had. And we tend to, or she tends to, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is go with the attorneys you think are best suited for the issue at hand.
Oftentimes, for example, you know, when it's a HR matter, I'll go to our insurance company to make sure that we're assigning counsel that will be covered should anything arise. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we go with expertise. Often we go with Young Mini and Core. They are typically who we go to first because of their expertise in chart law. So most of the time, unless it's real estate, in which case then that's a whole other thing.
Bond attorneys, you had all kinds
Yeah.
of different. All kinds. So I think, kind of along that line, I mean, we did approve next year's budget, which includes $125,000 for legal services. I just think we have to be careful not to micromanage that too closely so that we inhibit Laura from getting the job done. It needs to
With
be
that
done
said,
on a
I also
timely
hear the
basis.
direction very clearly. So.
Okay. Let's see, we're on to the consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda.
I have a question regarding one of
Wait,
the
I don't have a
items.
second.
I pulled it off, that's what I
Oh,
meant.
I'll
you-
second
we-
it so she can talk about it.
You don't have to pull it off, we can discuss these items before the vote, according to our special rule.
Yeah, Patty seconded it. Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
Item J, 1920 insurance
Yes, ma'am.
renewal. In the documents that I received, it says that if I understood correctly, because insurance is, the company that we may select to go with is not licensed to do business in the state of California. And so I want to know What are the implications of that?
This is Philadelphia?
Hang on, let me pull it. That's why I'm asking the
Yes.
question. You saw the same thing I
Yeah.
did?
No, I didn't see it. She just asked if it was Philadelphia, according to the.
You're proposing to go with
Yes.
Philadelphia.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the reason we propose to go with Philadelphia is the company that we have been with is having difficulty with doing business in California. So their rates are going up.
And I don't I'm not saying that I have a problem with it.
Mhm.
I just want to know, yes, am I understanding it correctly? And really, we can't find anybody else who's licensed in California?
Well, they bid it, right?
Yeah, so
So
they
they-
bid it and they're the ones who gave us a competitive bid. We had 4 other bids, they just weren't
So
competitive.
they have to be licensed.
And they will be
So-
licensed.
No, they don't have to be licensed here to do business.
Yes,
So
they do.
with-
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay, the thing that came through, Patty, will you look
But
at it
what they
because
will
you
do,
understand
but what they
it?
will do is if they will, you know how much, if they pay a fee to the state of California, there's no criteria. They pay a fee to the state of California and now they're licensed in the state of California. to do
Okay,
business.
what
So
this
once they win the
document
contract,
says
they'll pay the fee.
is that they're placed on a list that says they can do business here but are not licensed here, and that California cannot guarantee if we have a claim, they'll pay it. And so I want to understand that more fully. What does that document mean?
I just know that, when they find work in a state, they usually pay the state fees and they get licensed with little or no criteria.
So because we
Good or
work through a broker, the broker's experience with the company is that they're very reputable and they've had good experience with them with other schools. So I'm not aware of any issues. Which document?
Okay, let me.
In California.
In
Yeah,
California,
let me-
yes.
Because I could be misunderstanding it. Down
Michael,
under J,
click
right here, I want to say it's the cyber form. Notice,
the
the
side.
insurance policy that you are applying to purchase is being issued by an insurer that is not licensed by the state of California. These companies are called non-admit or surplus line insurers. The insurer is not subject to the financial solvency regulation and enforcement that apply to California licensed insurers. That's my concern. Notice, it's here.
Scroll down for me. This is, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. This is go back up. This is the cyber policy, right?
Yeah.
Go back up. Okay. So what I would, because of the,
It says that you should, if you have a question,
Yeah,
you
you
should
should
call
call
the
that
broker,
number.
there's a number for the state, toll-free telephone number, 1-800.
so I believe it's because it's the cyber policy. However, what I would like to do is I would like to make that phone call and get you something in writing that explains this. The nature of the insurance renewal was such that, because it took them so long to get the quotes in, so that we didn't lose the discount, we went ahead with the renewal and are asking for ratification. Doesn't mean we can't change it. We can.
I don't want us to be uninsured.
Well, we won't be.
Okay.
So, because we can make a change, it just means we forfeit our discounts. So that's why, and typically we do insurance via ratification. It's kind of a routine item,
And
but this is a change.
this may be nothing more
Let me find
than
out.
a disclaimer, but I don't know about insurance. That's not my field of expertise. When I read those very first two, I'm worried.
So let me get a good answer.
Okay.
And
But
if-
we'll still be insured in the meantime?
So if you approve the consent agenda, then we are entirely insured. If I come back with an answer to this question and there are concerns, then we can make a change.
Then we can make a change?
Yes, we can. And that will be changing insurance. It will be expensive, but it can be done. It's not a problem.
I'm good. I'm good with it.
Excellent. Thank you. One other note I might make, you might have noticed that we did not have full financials this month. That's because it's the close of the fiscal year. They're working on the unaudited actuals and you will see those next month. So we gave you a forecast just so that you knew what was going on.
She likes the cartoons.
Okay, I think we had a motion and a second for the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're getting there. Board director reports. Anybody like to say some more today? Item 29. This is nuts.
Well, just real quick, right, into the silence. I wanted to thank Dr. Herman and all of the staff that I took a little vacation day to kind of spend some time here and check out the new construction, and that did my heart a lot of good to see paint on the walls, you know, drywall finished, everything running
It's a
in.
huge building.
It's so much bigger on the
It's a
inside than it
huge-
looks on the outside. And I'm so excited about the way they have the classroom structured with the walls that, you know, allow collaborative space in a really easy way. Not, you know, it's gonna take us a half an hour to fold these up and get it where it needs, like, it's just roll it back and let people do what they need to do. The proactive spaces, the expanded spaces for special ed, and those other, just seeing that those ideas have been thought of and are planned out. I really appreciate it, made me feel a lot better, so thank you for everybody I know a lot went into making that happen, and it got me very excited about what that's gonna look like for students at the end, and, you know, just filling that space with excited kids.
Weren't we just standing in the mud over there? during the rainy
Just a
day?
minute ago, right?
Yeah.
It is exciting to see that it is coming along.
They're still making good progress. Did they do the Saturday lifts? I wasn't here, but
They did. I came in Saturday morning at 8 o'clock to see the helicopters bring in the HVAC units and drop them on the roof tops.
Gently, drop them gently.
Gently drop
They
them,
call
yes,
it
not
drop.
lower them. So there were 54 units. They finished in an hour and a half. A minute and a half per unit approximately. And we watched it do it for a while. I was standing at the construction office with my husband and we're watching through the window. And it was just extraordinary because the helicopter would lower, you know, be over the unit. 6 guys would run out, hook all the belts up, run back. They'd lift it up and you'd see them lower it onto the roof. And then you'd see the guys up there do the same thing. They'd run in there, they'd unhook it, and then they'd lift it. It was amazing.
it's good. Good. Okay, I think that's all the agenda except for the closed session.
May I have just a couple of minutes for my report? Thank you, sir.
Not used to your report.
I know, get all the way at the end there,
He's in a
sorry about
rush.
that. Just a couple of nice news items. Well, you'll have a robust data presentation as soon as the state releases, after it chews on the testing data and gives us their analysis of the data. Students have already received their test scores. It's just that the group analysis hasn't been done. We've done some internally and we think there's going to be good news. So we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, the state did publish its college-going report totals. And remember, when the kids leave us, they tell us what their plan is and we dutifully write it down. But this is data from a year later saying where they actually were. And for us, the class of 2018, this is a year ago, the college-going report, our college-going rate is 87.6%. That's a full 20% higher than the state average. It's really, really encouraging because that's a nice measure. Let's see, another nice little bit of information, and this one is an uphill battle for us. Our AP score report came in, and so I'm looking at a 5-year trend. AP tests, we just are looking at passing rate. We've really been trying to focus on how do we get, more kids to pass. When we first started in our first year, when you looked at all of the tests together, our passing rate was a somewhat discouraging 9.9%. It was heartbreaking. Now the numbers were small, but it was hard. Last year, our overall pass rate was 37.2%. So we're growing. The year before, it was 32, so that was a 5% increase in those 2 years, and an increase in numbers. We had, let me see if I can give you the total number of testing. We had 532 tests taken last year, and given our size, that's a pretty good overall percentage. So those are little encouraging bits that I wanted to share, just kind of as a preview of what's to come. So.
I just wanted to say congratulations for getting the HR director.
Oh, yes, and he'll be here you'll get to meet him at the next meeting. That will be lovely. I should also say that our Palmdale School District, or the facility representatives from Palmdale School District have walked the site 3 times now. And I think that's good because that's allowing them to see changes and it's allowing them to see progress as far as, you know, how the building is going. I would also extend the invitation to any of you anytime. If you'd like to come over, I'll give you a hard hat and a vest and we'll go walk it.
And she really means
It's
it too,
fun.
by the way.
I do, hard hat and vest.
Oh, but
We
it's
got the
fun.
heart and the-
It is fun. It is fun.
So,
Wear sturdy shoes.
When is the next Palmdale walkthrough?
you know, it's not on the schedule yet because
You just
Felicia
had one,
was
though.
just, yeah, she was on vacation.
Okay.
So what I was suggesting was that we just do them predictably every other week, but we haven't quite gotten there yet, so. But, you know, you're welcome to come with them, you're welcome to come on your own, anytime. Happy to walk you around. That concludes my report.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to adjourn to closed session again.
You've got a public comment, but I don't know whether there is any public comment,
Close.
but they're closed.
Any public comment for the closed session? Okay. Hearing none, we'll adjourn to closed session.
Possibly with a quick potty
Okay,
break
I have one
first, does
minute. All of
anyone
your
need one?
Signatures on the document.
Okay.
Okay, let's do a 5-minute break, sign things and
Thank you so much.
Well,